Welcome to another vintage story tutorial. I think that there are two things that frequently get overlooked for early game storage and early game preservation of food. The first of those is the large crock, and the second is a 2x1 cellar. This video talks you through why I think these two are very, very useful early in the game. When you first start the game, the storage that's available to you is a reed basket, and that's pretty easy to make just with cattails. The storage that everyone thinks is the next one up is the chest, but to make a chest you actually need to have a saw. So one thing that people often ignore, myself included, is some very, very good storage, which is this, the raw storage vessel. Now this has 12 slots, whereas a basket only has 8. It does depend on having found clay. Now I'm going to show you how one of these things is made. So we want to make this storage vessel. They're pretty large, so obviously you need to put your first layer down, but there's a lot of help here if you are familiar with the layer mechanics in making these molds, and indeed if you're familiar with these sort of large mechanics here, because they make life a lot easier. And I love them. Now I've started with a stack of 64 clay, and the reason I'm doing that is so that you can see how much clay you need for one of these super big storage vessels. And you can get it out of one stack, don't worry about, this doesn't take masses and masses of clay. It's going to just gently run around the edge. Always worth. Now here I know we can just add that layer and the next one. By pressing F, it means that you will replicate the layer below. So all you have to do is to hold your cursor on the side of the crock pot, and you're there. Now, as you know, firing these clay pots can be done very easily with, talking rather than concentrating. Let's take those out. All right. Oh gosh, come on. Right, let's go back to 1. And do this layer. It's got a lovely base, that's why you have to craft a bit of extra there. And across the top. Yep, knock that one out. And then we can go to this one, which is the 4. There we go. Let's put that in. And we have another large layer. So press F again and go to the big one, the starbursts. Pop that one in. There we go. There, yep, and another one. Now we can do the replicate layer here. It doesn't do it in starbursts, but it does cover it pretty well, and we're ready. So that I've now got 29 clay left. So that actually took 35 clay, and it seems to me that that is doable if you find clay. And then all you have to do is to put your storage vessel, of course, on a fire with some fuel. Have I any fuel on me? No. But I've got some brown coal, I've got some firewood. Yeah, I'd use brown coal. You can use, obviously, firewood is just fine for this. Pop that in, and then obviously you have to light it with a torch. Just check that. Yeah, there we go. I mean, you only need 600 C, so you could actually fire this with twigs if you had enough twigs, or grass, or flowers if you don't care about flowers. I mean, I wouldn't fire it with flowers myself, but you could. Right guys, our storage has come to an end. Let's take that out, and let's just put a few more twigs in to get some more torches going. No harm in using up the rest of the fire. And then immediately you have this large storage vessel, which I think is worth the investment, because this has got 12 slots. This has got 8. It also looks great. Having a variety of storage is always good. I thought it would be useful to compare 3 types of storage. Now, the first type of storage that you will inevitably have, because it's the easiest, is a reed basket. Now, if we go to our hotbar, the food on the hotbar is fresh for 20.3 days. If we put it in this part, it's still fresh for 20.3 days, right? So let's now right click and let's just put 1 in there. That's now only fresh for 15.2 days. So that has immediately lowered the effectiveness of the food. And if we put 1 in this vessel, it's now perishable for 19.9 days. So it's gone from 20.2 to 19.9. So the loot vessel is already better. And if we look at the chest and put 1 in there, this is 20.2 days. This is 14.9 days. So that's not great for food. Now, what I've got set up here are actually 3 primitive cellars. So I'm going to lock myself in. So I'm underground, and a cellar does not have to be 5 by 5. That's the maximum size of a cellar. Frankly, 2 by 1 is enough. But if we look at this, look, already this has altered. It's gone from 15.4 to 28.7. This is still 20.2. This is now 28.7. So already that's better. If we look at the chest, let's look at this. 14.9, right guys? Let's close ourselves in, give it a moment, and it's gone to 15.9. So it's gone from 14.9 to 15.9. So chests aren't that great in cellars. But if we look at the crock, this is 19.9. Lock ourselves in so that we achieve a cellar. Give it a moment. 37.6 days. That's a heck of a lot longer. Let's try again. 37.6 days. So guys, if you want to store food and preserve it for longer, the crock is the best food storage vessel. Now obviously, I mean, I've made a mess of this, but you do not have to have this layout. I put it there because it was easier for me. However, the simplest cellar of all is a 2x1 hole in the ground. Cover it up. For goodness sake, stick a torch so that you know where it is. Otherwise you'll lose it in a mass of stuff. And that's your simplest of all cellars. And as I said, it's just 2x1. Put some dirt on top. Your crock is underneath. And although I can't show you, you've got a much, much longer time for food preservation. Now you can easily, once you have found clay and you have firewood, you can easily make one of these big crocks, stick it in a 2x1 hole in the corner of whatever, I was going to say hovel, you have constructed, because we all construct hovels to start with, and immediately you will lengthen the period of time that your food stays fresh. So don't ignore the crocks. They are fabulous storage, particularly for food. And don't think that cellars take a lot of work. They're just a 2x1 hole. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you do, leave a like. Bye bye.